I sort of like where the discussion is going with regard to the 49er defense. Like, I think you acknowledge both emotions right now at the same time. Yes, 49er fan, nothing can get in the way of your joy. They're in the Super Bowl. But also, what the hell's going on? And Steve Wilkes today spoke
did you
publicly.
see that?
Yeah, he said it was embarrassing.
Embarrassing, Mark.
Use that word. Use
Embarrassing.
it. Yes, because it is. Like, I will be here to defend the athlete almost every time when it's physical errors and there's actually underlying good play. My God, the Niners are in the Super Bowl. But if we're talking about effort at this level, what are we doing?
Right?
What is this, Little League? Has there ever in the history of the Super Bowl been press conferences or say, Coach, why did you think of your team's trying?
Effort.
What?
It's crazy, but you could see it on the film.
You're exactly right.
And I'm sure he saw it in real time, and then when you watch the film and you sit down with your defense in the meeting room and you play back that touchdown where you've got Young jogging and Kinlaw trailing and Givens not really busting hump to get in and make a play on that touchdown run, you pause the tape and you look at the room and you go, guys, what are we doing? Classic Mark Willard. What are you doing? What are you doing? The one thing you can't worry about at this stage is effort. You're in the NFC Championship game and you're getting it handed to you and you got guys jogging around the field. I mean, that is embarrassing.
Especially some of the new guys. I mean, Chase Young, you're like, you sold under a lucky star, dude. You got traded from the Commanders to the Niners in a contract year. You got Bosa on the opposite end. You have everything sitting there for you. Show the world that you are your draft status. Show the world that you're worth what you think you're worth on the open market next year. And instead, you're putting that on tape, high-fiving Jahmyr Gibbs as he waltzes into the end zone?
You got to be close to him to high-five him.
What are you doing?
Seriously.
It's crazy. And the Niners do, I'll give them this, they do a great job of no matter what happens, that press conference comes around in a couple days, and their vibe is like, we're chilling. I got Yeezys on. We all get along. Here's George. He's funny. Here's Fred. He's really an elder statesman.
Here's Nick. Brandon, he's really mellow.
He's very quiet.
Here's Brock. He loves Jesus.
Here's Brandon and Debo. They're cool. Okay, we're all chilling. I don't really buy it. I think there is some stuff going on behind the scenes right now where people are getting verbally undressed in meeting rooms. I think there is concern all over the place in terms of how the hell do you put that on tape in the NFC title game? And by the way, I'm even going to point out my guy. He's had a hell of a week of like, wow, NFC Championship comeback. Right. But you've looked bad half the time in these playoffs, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Tim actually mentioned it.
And the 49ers are probably wondering why.
Right.
He's not the guy. He has not looked like the guy that we saw for the majority of the regular season.
Green Bay, we all want to say, well, it was wet ball and bad conditions. But Detroit, you didn't have that excuse. In the first half, and Tim was talking about giving your B or B minus effort. Well, they played a D minus first half, and they probably played an A minus second half, both sides of the ball. And you can't do that against Kansas City. And I'm with Tim. If you're down 24-7 to Mahomes at the half, he's not letting you back in. This is not the Detroit Lions, and we're going to bite kneecaps and go for it on fourth down. This is a situation where you can't fall behind Mahomes by 17.
No. Well, I mean, in general, you can't fall behind anybody by 17. Right. You don't fall behind by 17 and win the football game. By the way, I don't think the 49ers are going to do that. It's not like they've been making a practice of falling behind by 17. That was one game, and the Lions do have a phenomenal offense. But there are some underlying things here where people are doing uncharacteristic stuff, and I think it has something to do with why the 49ers in the playoffs have been good but not great. We can all admit that. They have not been the absolute best version of themselves. Let's be real. If this matchup had been handed to odds makers 3 weeks ago, no one's played yet, okay? Or even give the Chiefs their win over Miami in the Ice Bowl, whatever the hell was going on that day. Niners haven't played yet. They're the 1 seed. If you had said, okay, Vegas, give me your faux spreads based on these matchups, what happens if it's Niners-Chiefs? Yo, that spread's 5.5.
Yeah, I was thinking 4.5, but you're probably right.
That spread's 5.5 is my bet. And now it's 2/1.5.
Yeah.
And it's because of the stuff we're talking about right now.
Well, it's because of both sides, because Kansas City went to Buffalo and won.
Fair.
And then they went to Baltimore and won. And the way they won against Buffalo, it wasn't flukish. They were trading punches. Back and forth they went until the fourth quarter when things tightened up. Buffalo gave them one. Kansas City coughed one up. Buffalo missed a field goal and you escaped. But then you went to Baltimore and you handled the number 1 seed. I mean, you handled them. They scored a touchdown on their opening drive. Baltimore did, and scene. That was it until the very end of the game where they took the 3, knowing they needed a 3 and a 7.
Yeah, I mean, they did. They gagged some stuff up. Obviously, I mean, the one that stands out to me, Zay Flowers, fumbles at the 1-inch line.
Yep.
But, you know, that's part of the deal, and it was a good play made by the Kansas City defender. I'd love to take your phone calls on anything we're discussing. Big Mike is in Alameda. Hey, Big Mike, what are you doing?
Hey, man, just listening to the logic that you guys are distributing out. Thank you for taking my call, and happy Friday to everyone.
Yes.
I really don't have much to add. I think the last segment before you guys were speaking about what's going to be the difference in the game, and I just have 4 small points. I think coaching is obviously going to be the major difference because I do think both teams are equal in talent and in personnel, but it's going to come down to a time period where Shanahan's going to get into a gray area where he's unfamiliar, and his reputation is to panic, and I'm hoping that he can overcome that. I do believe that it's also going to come down to turnovers and penalties.
Hey, Big Mike. Mike, can I ask you a question? Give me an example of Kyle Shanahan panicking.
Well, I'm referring to the 2016 Super Bowl with when he was with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
You know, he might in a situation where he needs to run with McCaffrey, and he might pass, or he might do the other where he may have to pass the ball and he runs. Situational football like that. 3rd and 1 calls, maybe 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, things like that, getting out of 3rd downs where, a solid play can get you out of that situation. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? Because he panicked, in 2016. And I do believe that's what all the fans are worried about, his reputation. And Andy Reid has been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've been there.
Well, I mean, obviously, Kyle's been there, too. They've been there together. Big Mike, thank you very much. I'm glad he said that. I listened to Guru and Evan do a whole segment on this as well, and I just was burning to get in here and ask everybody a question. Why don't you trust Kyle Shanahan? I'm not talking to everybody. A lot of you do. A lot of you have arrived at the same place that like every quarterback he's ever worked with has arrived at. I would love genuine answers to this question. Why don't you trust Kyle Shanahan? Like the point that was just, he panicked. No, he didn't. He dropped Matt Ryan back, and Matt did not throw the ball away when he could have. We can do hindsight 2020 on every play call ever. This is my favorite one. Well, in 2020, Mark, the score was 10-10, and it was almost halftime, and he turtled up, and he didn't get aggressive with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'll go, okay, do you think Jimmy was a good quarterback? Well, no, I don't think Jimmy was. Okay, then you just answered your own question. I sort of talked about this a week ago. Does 4 trips to the NFC title game in 5 years not earn your trust? Yes or no? Why don't you trust Kyle Shanahan? It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild to me.